Okay, good evening. Today we are going to deal with the topic diphthongs. So, in the last class, I mentioned about vowels, and I told you that there are 20 vowels in English, and out of the 20 vowels, we have 12 pure vowels and 8 diphthongs. So, in the last class, we learned about the 12 pure vowels in detail. Today, we're going to look at the diphthongs. Diphthongs are actually vowel glides, right? So it's a combination of two vowel sounds. That means the tongue, as I told you when in the articulation of vowels, the tongue is the active articulator and the tongue will move either towards the roof of the mouth or it will move towards the bottom part of the mouth, right? So the tongue will move, it will glide, or it is sometimes in the central position, or sometimes the front of the tongue is used. So the tongue is the active articulator. And in diphthongs, we understand that the tongue will glide from one particular position to another. That is why diphthongs are called vowel glides, because the tongue glides, right? So, as I was telling you, diphthongs are 8 in number, right? There are 8 diphthongs in English, and we can divide them into falling diphthongs and rising diphthongs, closing diphthongs and centering diphthongs, and also fronting diphthongs, right? So we have falling, rising, closing, centering, and fronting diphthongs. Now we learn what these diphthongs are. What are these types, So 8 diphthongs which can be divided into 5 categories: falling, rising, closing, centering, fronting. So that you can divide these 8 diphthongs into 5 categories, right? Now, when we talk about falling diphthongs, they're also called descending diphthongs. And here we see that the diphthong starts with a vowel quality of higher prominence. Maybe you can say higher pitch or higher volume, and it ends in a vowel or a semi-vowel of lower prominence, right? So that is falling diphthong. When you talk about rising diphthongs, they're also called ascending diphthongs. They begin with a less prominent semi-vowel or a vowel, and they end with a more prominent full vowel. So don't bother too much about that. I'll explain that in detail. Now, we're going to focus more on closing diphthongs, centering diphthongs, and fronting diphthongs. Now, falling and rising diphthongs, as the name suggests, these falling diphthongs would start with a vowel quality of higher prominence and move on to a semi-vowel or a vowel of lesser prominence. And as the name suggests, rising diphthongs or ascending diphthongs would start with a vowel quality of lesser prominence and move to a vowel quality of greater prominence. So that is falling and rising diphthongs, as the name suggests. We're going to focus on what are centering diphthongs, what are closing diphthongs, and what are fronting diphthongs, right? And there's also another category, retracting diphthongs, right? So we have closing diphthongs, centering diphthongs, fronting diphthongs, and retracting diphthongs. So as I told you earlier, it's not 5 categories, they're divided into 6 categories. So rising, falling, fronting, centering, closing, and retracting, right? So this, as the name suggests, we'll talk about that because you've already learned what close vowels are. You've already learned what center vowels are. Center vowels, right? We talked about back vowels, front vowels, center vowels. We talked about close vowels, open vowels, right? So it is based on this that we're going to divide the diphthongs. So we have closing diphthongs, centering diphthongs, fronting diphthongs, and retracting diphthongs, right? Now, closing diphthongs. As the name suggests, if the diphthong ends in a close vowel, if the diphthong ends in a close, as I told you, there are 2 vowels, right? In a diphthong, there are 2 vowels, and if the diphthong ends in a close vowel, it is called a closing diphthong. Now, you can just look at the diphthongs chart which I've given here. You see 8 diphthongs, right? So you can see my mouse moving. Look at this. This is ear, right? Ear as in here, H-E-A-R, here, right? Ear. This is the pronunciation. This is ur, ur as in poor, sure, right? Ur. This is a as in cake, take, make. This is o as in go, home, boat. This is not a very common sound uh, for us because we don't have a similar sound like this in any of our languages, Indian languages. So this is a little difficult for Indian speakers. It's O. So we usually say go, right? Go home. It's actually not go home. The British or in English RP or received pronunciation, we would pronounce this word as this diphthong is O, and we would say go home. That's actually how received pronunciation is, right? But since we do not have this kind of similar sound in our languages, Indian languages, what happens is we usually have this mother tongue interference. So we say go, boat, home. It's not home, it's home. It's boat, it's coat, it's go home. No, I won't. So that's how actually people who speak received pronunciation, right? The southern part of London, they speak like that. This is oi. Oi as in toy, boy, right? Oil. It's oi, not oi. Indian speakers have a tendency to articulate this as oi, right? Because we have a similar sound o in our mother tongue or in our Indian language. So we usually say o. So we say boy. We say oil. It's not boy, it's boy, right? It's oil. It's toy. So that's how we pronounce this diphthong. This is a as in hair, as in tear, T-E-A-R, tear. Tear is kirga. The other one is T-E-A-R. The kannanir is tear. Tear is this diphthong, ear. Okay, tear. This is tear, hair, H-A-I-R, right? Share, S-H-A-R-E, share. This is I as in my, I as in high, H-I-G-H, I as in tie, right? T-I-E. This is ow as in cow, ow as in house, ow as in owl, right? So these are the 8 diphthongs in English, right? So we have ear, we have ear as in here, H-E-R-E, ur as in poor, a as in cake, o as in boat, oi as in toy, a as in hair, I as in my, ow as in cow. So these are the 8 diphthongs in English. Now we were talking about closing diphthongs. Now, which are the close vowels in English? In the last class, we learned about the close vowels. Now, in these 8 sounds, do you see, as I told you, closing diphthong will be a diphthong that ends with a close vowel. Now, in these 8 sounds, this A, see the second vowel is a closed vowel. I is a closed vowel. See this, U is a closed vowel, the second vowel, right? So the tongue will glide from A to the A position to the U position. So this is again a closed vowel. So this is a closing diphthong. This is a closing diphthong. This is a closing diphthong. I. Ow is a closing diphthong, right? So we have 4 closing diphthongs. We have A, we have O, we have I, and we have so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, we have 5 closing diphthongs. A as in take, O as in boat, I as in toy, I as in high, and ow as in cow, because I is a closed vowel, U is a closed vowel, right? So here we have 3 diphthongs which end in I. A, oi, I. And we have 2 diphthongs that end in U. So these 5 are closing diphthongs because in the diphthong, the second vowel or the diphthong ends in a closed vowel. It starts from one position, it glides to the other position. So we have a diphthong. If we have a diphthong that ends in a closed vowel, it is called a closing diphthong. So there are 5 closing diphthongs in English, right? So this is a closing diphthong. A as in take, O as in boat, Oi as in coin, oil, I as in tie, Ow as in house, right? So we have 5 closing diphthongs, right? Now we have centering diphthongs. Centering diphthongs would be diphthongs that would end in a central vowel, in a center vowel, right? Center vowel. So the center part of the tongue is raised towards the portion which is between the hard palate and the soft palate. Such vowels are called center. So we have front vowels, center vowels, and back vowels. Now, which are the center vowels? See, this is a central vowel, right? Is a central vowel. So how many diphthongs do we have which are centering? Ear as in here, ua as in poor, a as in hey, because a is a central vowel, a is a central vowel, a is a central vowel, right? So we have 3 centering vowels, right? So we have three centering diphthongs. So there are 3 centering diphthongs in English, and these 3 centering diphthongs end in a central vowel right? So we have 5 closing diphthongs and 3 centering diphthongs, right? Now we're coming to fronting diphthongs. Which are the fronting diphthongs? The diphthongs that move towards a front vowel. Which are the front vowels here? So the second element would be the front vowel. See, E is a front vowel, right? E is a front vowel. I is a front vowel. I is a front vowel, right? So we have A, Oi, and I. So we have 3 fronting diphthongs, right? 3 fronting diphthongs. A, Oi, I, because the diphthong moves towards the front vowel E. See, it is I, I, I. So it's A as in cake, Oi as in toil, I as in bright, kite. Okay, so we have 3 fronting diphthongs. What would be retracting diphthongs? Retracting diphthongs are those diphthongs that would move towards the back vowel, that would move towards a back vowel. So we have, see, this is U, right? It's a back vowel. This is again a back vowel, U, right? So we have 2 retracting diphthongs. We have ow and we also have o. We have o and we also have ow. So we have closing diphthongs, centering diphthongs, fronting diphthongs, and retracting diphthongs. We also have falling diphthongs and rising diphthongs. Falling diphthongs are also called descending diphthongs. And in a falling diphthong, we see that the vowel quality will be of a higher prominence. It would move towards a vowel quality of lower prominence. So when you say I, so I, in the first vowel is of a higher prominence, I, right? The second one is of a lower prominence. So we call that a falling from a higher prominence to a lower prominence vowel, right? Whereas in rising diphthongs, we have it can be a semi-vowel also. Semi-vowels, when we learn consonants, we learn semi-vowel. It can be a diphthong which begins with a vowel of lower quality and moves towards a vowel of higher quality, right? So you have a word like yard. Yard. In yard, what happens is the first one, that is the year, it is a semi-vowel. So if you can consider that, and you can say that the second one, ya, is a higher quality. So just remember that rising and falling diphthongs are those diphthongs wherein you have vowels moving from higher quality to lower quality, or from lower quality to higher quality. So that is how you categorize rising and falling diphthongs. But when you come to centering diphthongs or closing diphthongs are those diphthongs wherein the second element of the diphthong is a closed vowel, right? So which are the closed vowels? You have E and U here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, O, Oi, I, Ow. Right? So these 5 are closing diphthongs. Then we have centering diphthongs which move towards the central vowel A. So we have 1, 2, 3. Ya, Ua, A. Right? And then we have fronting diphthongs wherein the tongue will move from one vowel position to the other vowel position, and the second vowel would be a front vowel. So here we have a front vowel E, right? So we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 fronting diphthongs: A, Oi, I, right? And we also have retracting diphthongs. That is, the tongue will glide towards a vowel which is a back vowel. So here we have U. Both these U are back vowels. So we have O and Ow, which are retracting diphthongs. So we have 8 diphthongs in English, and out of the 8, we have 5 closing diphthongs. We have 3 centering diphthongs, and we have 3 fronting diphthongs and 2 retracting diphthongs, right? So this is how you name the diphthongs. So you have closing diphthongs, we have centering diphthongs, we have fronting diphthongs and retracting diphthongs, and we also have falling and rising diphthongs, right? Now, these diphthongs would also be labeled according to the 3-term label. So when you have this, look at this, I. How would you define I? I would be defined as an unrounded, right? It would be an unrounded. It is a front, and it is, you can say it is a little above close. So you can say, open, right? So you can say it is front, it is open, and it is unrounded, right? So open in the sense, you can say it's not exactly open, but it's okay, fine. You can say it's open, right? So you can say it is unrounded, right? Similarly, you can define all these diphthongs using the 3-term label. So that will be an assignment for you. I would ask you to please fill in these, you can just define these diphthongs, and you can also define the vowels, the 12 pure vowels that we have learned using the 3-term label. Okay, 3-term label. So unrounded, front, whether it is closed, half open, or open. So that will be an assignment for you. I will want you to do it and submit it in your Google Classroom at the earliest. Maybe by the end of this week. Not by the end of this week, your exam starting, right? Maybe by tomorrow you can do this. Takes just 10 minutes for you to label this, right? So you can just label the 8 diphthongs and also the 12 pure vowels that we have learned, right? So you can do the labeling and you can submit the assignment. So that is about diphthongs for you. And now we pass on to something called triphthongs. Now, what would be triphthongs? Now, diphthong is a vowel glide wherein the tongue moves from one position to the another. Now, a vowel glide which has 3 elements, or we can say a vowel sequence which has 3 elements, is called a triphthong. Now, a triphthong would be a glide from one vowel to another and from there to the third one. Triphthong, right? Diphthong is vowel glide where the tongue glides from one position to the other. But when you have a triphthong, it is a glide wherein the tongue glides from one position to another and from there to the third. So we could say triphthongs are usually a combination of a diphthong and a. Is a central vowel, right? As in across. Usually triphthongs are a combination of a diphthong plus a. Now you have, for example, you have a word like fire, fire, right? So when you write fire, it will be I for I as in high, right? Fire. I can just show you that once more. One second, I'll just share that for you. See, this is I, right? So you have fire, right? Fire means I, and then again a will come behind this. So that will be a diphthong, right? Suppose you have royal. When you have royal, right? Or if this is oil, right? Oil. Again, the a will come after this. So usually we can say that diphthongs are basically a diphthong plus the combination of a. So you have words like Shah, flower, royal, then as I said, fire, player, player. Player means this, play, player, layer, right? Layer, right? Then you have tire, again this tire. You have uh, lower, lower would be O, low, right? So these are diphthongs. Diphthongs are usually combination of a diphthong plus a. So you have a combination like uh, fla, right? You have fire, ire, right? Then you have air, player. Then you have oil, that is loyal, right? Loyal, oil. Then you have over, that is lower, right? So these are some of the diphthongs in English. So basically a diphthong plus a combination of a. So that is a diphthong for you. So with that, we come to the end of the topic called vowels, right? So, so as we just have a quick recap, we talked about vowels. So vowels are those sounds which are articulated with a structure of open approximation. Air would escape freely and continuously from the mouth without any friction, right? And vowels can be divided, it can be defined using a three-term label based on the position of the lips. Vowels can be classified as rounded, unrounded. Based on the height to which the tongue can be raised, it can be classified as closed vowels, half closed vowels, half open vowels, and open vowels. And based on the part of the tongue that is used, vowels can be classified as front vowels, back vowels, central vowels. Now, we have 12 pure vowels in English, right? So, the 12 pure vowels are I as in hit, E as in eat, A as in egg, A as in ant, A as in aunt, O as in hot, O as in horse, O as in put, U as in pool, A as in again, as in girl, A as in cut. These are the 12 pure vowels in English. They can be defined using the three-term label. Then you have 8 diphthongs in English. So you have I as in high, oi as in toy, a as in take, cake. You have ua as in poor. You have a as in share. You have o as in boat. You have ow as in house. You have ear as in here. So these are the 8 diphthongs in English. Diphthongs can also be defined using the three-term label, whether it's unrounded, rounded, whether it is open, closed, whether it is front, back, etc. Right? So this is how you define diphthongs and vowels in English. You have something called cardinal vowels, which are also called reference points, right? They're not actual vowels of any language. They cannot be pronounced because they do not belong to any language. They just use as a yardstick for us to derive or understand the vowels of English, right? Then you have a concept called triphthongs. Triphthongs are also vowel glides. The vowel will move from one position to the other and from there to the third position, right? So usually triphthongs are a combination of a diphthong plus ear. So you have an example like tire, where you have Aya plus So these are diphthongs. So these are vowels for you. Now we'll pass on to consonants in the next class. Now you need to go and revise this so that it will always remain. So you need to keep on articulating this and learning this. Otherwise, what happens is we definitely forget it. So these are vowels for you. As I told you earlier, vowels are those sounds which can be articulated with the structure of open approximation. Air would escape freely, continuously, without any friction. And the tongue is a major articulator. It can be raised to the roof of the mouth. It can be lowered. And there's a limit to which the tongue can be raised, and that limit is called the vowel limit. Beyond that, if the tongue is raised, it becomes a consonant. So this is vowel. These are vowels for you. This is the concept of vowels. I hope you've understood that. If you have any questions, you can ask me now.